Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kim with Creative Crafticality, and today I wanted to make an altered tag. It's kind of a little craft with me, so grab some supplies. I'm making this tag for a book that I'm working on. It's a little golden book, Cinderella, and this is in process. I have the cover almost done. I still need to add some trim and things along here. I need to sew my inner pocket page here and glue it in and add the trim on the inside. But I just wanted to show you what this tag was for. Here's my signatures. It's all ready to sew. But this one is coming. This is actually already purchased, or she's purchasing it as we speak. Let me know down in the comments if you would like to see more princess themed little golden books, because I do have several others. I have another Cinderella, and I have Snow White, I have Little Mermaid, I think I have an Aladdin, and I'm not sure what other ones, but yeah, that's what I'm working on there. So for my tag, I grabbed some of the paper that I used from this book. They're just scraps. This is some Kool-Aid stained blue paper that I had. I have some trims here that I'm going to use, probably, I'm not sure what. I just grabbed them. I have some scrap fabric that I used on the cover, as well as some scraps in a book page. This is part of one of the book pages where it says Once Upon a Time. So I'm thinking of either cutting out Once Upon a Time and then Cinderella. I'm not sure. So I grabbed that, and then I have this other book page here. I think I'm going to cut out Cinderella and the prince there. So I'll use that on the tag. So why don't we get started on this tag?
So the first thing I'm going to do is cut down my paper to 3.5 by 6 inches. I think this makes a great size for a tag. On the back side you can add journaling or add another picture. This paper happens to be blank on the other side, so that will be a great thing to have for journaling. I'm also going to use some of my scrap paper that I Kool-Aid stained, and I'm going to tear it down to about 1.5 inches wide and then 3.5 inches long. I like to use different kinds of paper on my tags just to add different textures. This is a scrap paper that I had. I purchased a digital kit that was the Cinderella theme from Frou Frou Crafts on Etsy. I'll put the link for that down below. The pack is just beautiful. It's kind of a vintage Cinderella pack. So now I'm going to take my vintage photo distress ink and distress the edges. You can use any kind of ink, actually, brown ink that you have in your stash or whatever color you want to use. So I'm going to edge my scrap there, and then I'm going to go ahead and edge the tag itself. At first I edged all the way around, and then I decided to cut the corners off at the top, so I had to go back and edge that. I love this paper that I'm using for the base of my tag. It is a beautiful, like, textured paper. It has a glittery effect on it as well. Now I'm just going to take those and layer them on top of each other. And I want to add this image of Cinderella and the prince, so I'm just going to fussy cut it out, and then I will go ahead and edge it as well with the distress ink. I like to use book pages and cut out the images. I think it adds a really cute ephemera, and you can customize your tags to go along with your junk journals. I'm just going to edge this as well. I like to edge things with the distress ink. It just makes it look, you know, adds to the vintage flavor to it. It also adds the dimension to like what would otherwise be a flat image. So now I'm going to take my scrapbook page there. It was just that I used the top image, but I wanted this once upon a time little sentiment at the top. So just cutting that part out. And then I'm going to make a little flag and mount it on top of that piece of scrap paper that I had, the blue Kool-Aid stained paper. I'm going to edge this and then glue it on top of that blue paper and just cut little notches out of one side of it to make it look like a little flag. I like to use tacky glue on everything. It holds really well. It's an expensive glue and it works. You can't let that go without distressing it as well. This will fit up at the top. I think that just adds a nice little sentiment to the tag. I was thinking about using the Cinderella on there, but decided that it didn't need it. I want to use this scrap fabric. It was the fabric that I used on the cover, and so I'm going to use my tiny attacher, or you can use a stapler and just staple it up at the top. When I'm done with, when I get everything glued down, I'll do that at the very end. Now I'm just trying to decide what trims I want to use. I have this really tiny blue lace. So I'm going to use that along the bottom of the image. And then I also have some pom-pom trim that I want to use. It's a light blue. I think the pom-pom trim just, I don't know, it's fun. I love pom-pom trim on everything. So I'll just add that to the very bottom. Now I usually do a lot of sewing on my tags, but I wanted to do a quick tag for you today. So everything I'm doing is just going to be gluing. But I do a lot of sewing when I do my tags in my journals. And then also on my pages, I like to sew trims on my pages and fabric, and also sew the paper, any kind of ephemera. It just adds another texture. So I'll glue that one down and then add the blue piece. I like to lay everything out like I just showed you, just because sometimes I change my mind. So before gluing it down, I just lay it all out and make sure I have everything the way I want it, and then I go back in and glue it down. Now I'm going to add that lace to the bottom there, just using a little bit of glue. You want a little thin layer though for that lace, so that it doesn't like seep out the edges. And then add the pom-pom trim on the bottom. Sometimes I clip the trim right exactly to the edge of the tag, but I kind of like it when it's a vintage theme like this, that the edges go off a little bit. Now I'm going to add my little flag up there, my sentiment. I had this fabric that was from the cover that was just a piece of scrap. So I want to make it skinnier and also kind of fray the edges a little bit. I had used some pinking shears on it to cut it originally for something else, but I didn't have my pinking shears at this point, so, and it needed to be skinnier anyways. Sometimes I can rip it, but this tiny of a piece wasn't ripping very well, so I just decided to cut it and then pull some strings off to fray it a little bit. And then I'll trim the little pieces off that are too long. This fabric is a one-sided fabric, so I had to kind of fold it in a V at the bottom, and then I'll use my tiny attacher to attach it to the top. And then I had this really pretty light blue skinny ribbon that had a silver edge on it, and I found this crystal heart button, but I just wasn't happy with that button, so I got rid of that and decided to tie the ribbon around just in a double knot to add another, different size ribbon at the top. And then I just trimmed it. I had a little bit more of that ribbon left over, so I decided to tie it around at the bottom and add a bow to the tag. And I couldn't quite get it tight enough, so I had to redo it. So I just did a double knot now. That's just to help it so it would stay tight. And then I went ahead and finished the bow off. Now I knew I wanted a button, and I remembered I purchased these buttons from Joann's. They're a Disney sponsored button by Dress It Up, and they're really cute. So I just cut the shank off the back of one of the little mice, and actually had to use some wire cutters to cut it really flat. My husband did that for me. So I'm just going to use my tacky glue and glue that over the top of the staples to cover up the staples. And then I love that. I think it's so adorable.
I hope you like this. I hope it gives you some inspiration for your next junk journal project. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, leave me a comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. This is Kim with Creative Crafticality. Bye. God bless.